In this video, I am going to show you how you can make an authentic German noodle casserole, which is a little bit different from the American macaroni and cheese, but it is just as delicious, and I'm going to show you this authentic recipe. For those of you who are new here, my name is Anja and I'm at our Gabled home. And for those of you who have been watching, this is a recipe that my mom has basically coined, and it's her signature recipe that is loved by all the grandchildren, and she agreed to do this video with me, and so I'm actually in her kitchen and not in my kitchen, just if you're wondering why is my kitchen a little bit different. So I'm going to be watching over her shoulder and showing you how she makes it. The first step is to cook the pasta. We're choosing spelt penne, these rigatoni-like shapes. I'm boiling them in salted water, draining them, pour cold water over them, and set them aside. And this is something that you can actually do ahead of time. The first thing we're doing is we're going to make a roux, basically with some fat. You can use butter or some oil, and she will be melting this in the pot. And apparently we don't have enough, so we're just going to add some oil to it. And the recipe will be in the description box, so you can find it there with all the exact measurements. How long have you been making this recipe?
Oh, das geht sehr schnell. Jetzt kommt ein bisschen Mehl dazu.
Ich wollte eigentlich wissen, wie lange du das Rezept schon machst.
Oh, das mache ich schon viele Jahre. Ich würde sagen, so 20 bis 25 Jahre werde ich das wohl schon machen.
25 years she's been making this recipe. And it's always a crowd pleaser. So this is the way we're cooking. We're just kind of going by feel instead of measuring. And again, you can find the measurements in the full recipe. And to that, we're adding enough milk to make a creamy big sauce. Everybody has their own way of making it. I always like to just add a little bit of milk and then go slowly. Apparently, Mom puts all the milk right in there from the get-go. So everybody has their different ways. And the key is to keep stirring it while you're adding heat to it. And it's really always fun to see how quickly this will thicken. And usually I'm not so worried about little lumps in there, because if you keep cooking it, the lumps will disappear. Cooking and stirring really is the trick, the key to this recipe. So how much milk are we adding here? At least half a quart, maybe 3/4 of a quart. And obviously you can scale this recipe up and down. This is always for at least 4 people, 4 hungry people.
Don't forget salt.
And don't forget salt. We're sprinkling that on there. Again, going by feel and taste. And over here, as you can see, are the pasta shapes that we cooked before, and you can make them a day ahead of time if you're in a pinch and you want to make this recipe a little bit quicker, or you can freshly boil them right before you're making the sauce and add them to a casserole dish. And how is our sauce doing over here? We still need a little bit more milk. This is cooking by feel. And we're seasoning the sauce with pepper. And what we always love is nutmeg, freshly ground, better than pre-ground. Finding out a lot of tools. Giving this another good stir, and you can see all the little specks in there. And then we'll just cook this for a few minutes until it's thickening and not thickening anymore. And while this is still going on, over here we have some diced ham. This is optional, you can make it vegetarian. We always like the ham because it gives a little bit of extra crunch. And then we have some fresh ground Parmesan over there and some actually homemade breadcrumbs and our pasta shapes over here. So what's our next step now? We
taste.
Okay, so we have to taste it. And we have some cousins over here. Obviously it needs a little bit more salt. Obviously to taste. So please taste your sauce and make sure it is to your preference.
That's it.
That's it. Okay.
Jetzt kommt.
And so we'll put the diced ham on first. I guess if you like, you could also use prosciutto, but we like the ham. That's always the family favorite. Not messing with a good recipe. And she's pouring the sauce, and this is why you need a lot of sauce, because it needs to be drenched. But the main difference to macaroni and cheese is that we're actually baking it as a casserole rather than just eating it with a sauce just like it is. And it is not a cheddar based sauce, it's more of a roux. The more sauce the better, trust me on that one. And from experience, I can also tell you that the wider and bigger the casserole, the better. And I'll tell you in a moment why. I get a agreeing nod here from Mom. And then you want to mix this up so that you don't have so much dry pasta in one spot. And now we pour the grated Parmesan over it.
Yes.
Oh, that's first? That's first? Okay, so that's first.
Das ist wichtig, sonst verbrennt der Käse nachher.
Oh, okay, so this is really important because if you put the Parmesan on top, it's going to burn. So you want it underneath the next layer. And this is making the crust. And so the bigger the casserole, the shallower it is, the more crust you have. And I can tell you from my own experience that everybody loves the crust. And if people only eat the crust and leave the rest, then you have to make more crust. And now we're adding the breadcrumbs. So the breadcrumbs go on top of the cheese so that the cheese doesn't burn and get too brown. And this is one of those recipes where you always want to have a lot of everything. Okay. So that's that. And we're adding a little bit more to make it even better. What was the saying? Butter makes it better. You can never have enough butter. So we're putting little specks of butter on it, which makes the crust extra delicious, extra yummy, extra crunchy. And again, you can use really thin slices or bigger pieces of butter. But this is another thing. You can't have enough butter on it. This is definitely not a low-calorie dish, but this is not why you're eating it.
Oh, und dann geht das ab in den Ofen. Dann haben wir das Ding schon fertig.
Und da noch ein Stück.
Oh, das muss ja für uns auch schmecken. Naja.
Und hier noch auf diesem Zipfel. So now we have all the butter on it, and the casserole goes into the hot oven. At about, I would say, what is that, 200 degrees? 200 degrees Celsius. Oh, that's 400 degrees Fahrenheit-ish. For how long? How long do we put it in there?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. Let's see what it looks like when it's done. Ooh, wow, that looks amazing. Okay, so let's see what it looks like. Let me dish it up. Yummy! Here is your German noodle casserole mom's recipe. And for more authentic German recipes, I have an entire playlist that you can find here. Thank you so much for watching and joining me in my mom's German kitchen, and I'll see you in the next video.